And once more the feeling, March 13. I heard Chris Field say this on a podcast titled Physical Reality and the Mind today. Occasionally, we end up showing that two concepts that were very distinct are different ways of thinking about the same thing. And those are the instances I'm hunting because whether it's physics, biochemistry, neurology, psychology, or archaeology, or whatever, in the end, they are all ways of thinking about the same thing in different ways. The reality of life as we experience its expression throughout time. Faced with two hugely complex problems, climate change and AI, which are complicated because the rising tensions, which could be the beginnings of a third world war or not, prevent what must happen to tackle them, cooperation, I am after practical help that will not just lead to tinkering at the edges, but the necessary changes. In that vein, I woke up to an email from FrameLab, founded by Professor Larkov. I highly recommend their newsletter. In today's newsletter, titled Radical Christian Nationalist Plot Takeover Under Trump, scary, right? Gil Duran presented the conservative moral hierarchy as outlined by Professor Larkov himself. It starts with God above man, and from there it only goes down. You can go back to the hierarchical model and the morality of a strong father family and understand any conservative political proposal, just as the moral model of a nurturing parent family does for progressive ideas. This is due to the fact that we think in metaphors and frames which relate to brain circuitry which, when established in our early childhood, is activated whenever phrases are mentioned. I talked about this before, but when I read this email this morning, I was still under the impression of the stories from the Fertile Crescent that I taught last weekend and that of the native people of the Pacific coast of North America. And when there was yesterday's talk about slime mold and merging as another option to interact other than cons or cooperation and defect. And here's the idea that came out of this mix. One question that arises when thinking about the beginnings of agriculture is, why did the process only start around 8000 BC? Given that humans have been around for upwards of 200,000 years, why didn't farming start much earlier? The answer is climate. Since our species came into existence, there have only been two sustained periods of warm climate of a kind that might support an agricultural economy. The first took place 130,000 years ago. There's not much evidence of anything from 130,000 years ago. The second is the one we are living in right now, and it started around 10,000 BC. So when sapiens found their language 70,000 years ago, and for the next 60,000 years or so, people lived under Ice Age conditions. We are talking open steppe and tundra, where ice didn't cover the ground. To survive, these humans gathered in large groups for seasonal hunting expeditions to kill megafauna like mammoths, aurochs, and saber-toothes en masse. They had to understand themselves as one organism facing another to succeed in the hunt. They merged, losing the I for the we, like the slime mold. It wasn't even a question that everyone did what he could and everyone was supplied with what they needed. There's no defecting against yourself. But with the beginning of the Holocene, scrub and forest replaced those open steppes and tundra. Ill-suited for the warmer and more enclosed habitats, 2/3 of the world megafauna had gone the way of a dodo by 8000 BC. Yet, they were replaced by plenty of small prey, like elks and boars and those. And, all these mammals. And tons of mushrooms, roots, berries, fruits, nuts, veggies, fish, you name it. It was a golden age for foragers, in which the first farmers set up shop as well. The hunt was still dangerous. One look at a wild boar or even a bull at Pamplona will tell you that. But The hunt between the foliage of trees and so on became more opportunistic and the strategies more versatile. The need to merge into one organism became less. And remember, morality is about well-being. The question the baby and toddler asks itself in early childhood while establishing its moral compass is, what improves my well-being? As the environment changed, the answer could shift. What we see in the polar opposite cultures of upland and lowland Cretan or the Pacific Northwest and California are their emerging equivalents of conservative and progressive. I'd say climate change and AI is megafauna, not a bull. To withstand what's going on, neither of the morals fit because neither allows for the idea of many people merging to become something like one organism, leaving their individuality behind, with one goal, in the shape of a swarm perhaps. It takes a new story and new thinking. Thinking. Make a habit out of thinking. Turn thinking into a movement. Like, comment, share. And as always, thank you for gifting me with a few minutes of your most precious, your lifetime.